Yes, everybody, welcome back to Talking Wolves. It feels like a while, but we are back at it now with a match preview. Wolves back at Molineux Tuesday evening under the lights up against West Ham United. The team just one place above us in the Premier League, but they've still got a big gap of points. And Wolves now edging closer to safety. In my opinion, it's still not 100% done. There's games to be played. There's teams in and around us who we have to play. And points will be won and lost, of course. But this is a good opportunity for Wolves to obviously build on the victory last time out against Southampton, which is just over 2 weeks ago now. So hopefully there's not sort of a rustiness to Wolves, and we can take that momentum into Tuesday night and hopefully grab all 3 points. Vitor Pereira's pre-match press conference has just finished, so I'll go over all the main bits from that. I'll give my thoughts on the current situation at Wolves, and of course we'll have the opposition perspective later on in the video as well. But be sure to hit that like button. Let's try and smash 250 likes on this preview, and subscribe to the channel as we edge closer to 19,000 subscribers as well. But in regards to team news from Vitor Pereira, it's good news because there's no fresh injury concerns, so it should be pretty much a fully available team other than the guys such as, Enzo Gonzalez, who's still got a long-term injury, and a couple of the other guys that are already out injured. Of course, Matheus Cunha still out suspended. He's got another game left after this one, so 2 games left, the West Ham game and the Ipswich game on Saturday as well. And as seems to be the case every other day, Matheus Cunha was the main topic of discussion, as you would expect. I did a video yesterday on his interview that was printed in The Guardian. I wasn't too impressed with it. It split opinion a little bit. Quite a few of you guys agreed with me. Some didn't agree with me. That's absolutely fine because that's what football's about. I just felt that, in my opinion, I felt the timing was wrong. I felt it was disrespectful to talk about your future when the job's not done. I have no doubt and I have full belief that Matheus will move on because he's a quality player. He does deserve to play at a team of a higher calibre and higher quality than Wolves. But ultimately, I think there's a way around it. And I didn't agree with that. Vitor was asked about that. He says they'll just have to wait till the summer to see what happens, which is what you would probably expect him to say. And then he was asked later on in the pre-match press conference in regards to the availability and the selection of Matheus Cunha. And he says when the time comes, if he's training properly, he will play still. So, I mentioned maybe if we were safe, putting it on the back burner. But ultimately, I still want to see chances given to players that do want to be here and will be here from next season. But, ultimately, Vitor will want to select the strongest team possible. And as long as Matheus Cunha can still give 100% towards Wolverhampton Wanderers before the end of the season, then, okay, fair enough. But as long as we can guarantee that, I'm sure Vitor will take no prisoners if we only see sort of 50% from Matheus once he returns from his suspension. But West Ham is a tricky game for Wolves. We have had a decent form recently against them at Molineux. We did lose the home fixture, earlier. It was last season, there was a bit of VAR controversy towards the end. We did lose the reverse fixture this season as well. And again, there was controversy towards the end of that when Lamina threw his toys out the pram. Gary O'Neill was under some serious pressure after that defeat as well. But like under Graham Potter for them, you'll hear it later on in the opposition perspective. It sounds like they're still adjusting a little bit. They're not looking fantastic going forward, and maybe that will give Wolves a chance, defensively to be solid, and obviously go at West Ham United a little bit more to see if we can grab a goal, because I think this is a good opportunity to actually get 3 points, and I think 3 points here, and a lot of Wolves fans, if you were still doubting whether we'd stay up, like I am a little bit, I think we'll be in a much more comfortable position if we can get some points from this game against West Ham United. Let's move on to my predicted lineup. And as you can see on the screen, I think we go unchanged after that win against Southampton. I think these are the players that Vitor seems to be trusting at the moment. And I'm going to go with this lineup of Jose Sarr in goal, Ryan Ait-Nouri and Nelson Semedo as your wing backs. Back three once again of Totti, Agbadu and Matt Doherty, who seems to be working really, really well at the moment. Andre and João Gomez, both playing for Brazil during the international break. Hopefully they've had enough recovery time and they'll start in the midfield for me. And then a front three of Jean-Ric Bellegarde, Marshall Monetzi, who was on the score sheet for Zimbabwe during the international break. Could maybe come out for the likes of Hwanki Channel or so on, who had scored, but I think Manetzi probably keeps his place for now. And then Jorgen Strand Larsen, fresh off the back of 2 goals against Southampton. He dropped out of the Norway squad due to a hand injury. Vitor Pereira was asked about that, and he said football's not played with the hands, so he should be absolutely fine. But as always, Vitor was on fine form in the pre-match press conference as well. He was talking about momentum and motivation that players have, and he was asking one of the journalists, he goes, "What motivates me?" He goes, "You ask why I go to the pubs to look at to see the fans, because the fans charge Vitor with happiness and energy." And he said at the moment he's feeling powerful. So it's good. You know, he wants Wolves to play their best game, to play with confidence, to play football rather than being really robotic. There was a comment in a Johnny Phillips article that was released this morning about Gary O'Neill and how everything, they looked into the fine details and then the analytical side of everything, where Vitor, of course, will do that to some degree, but wants the players to play their game a little bit more, use their brains a little bit more, and I think it's certainly showing. And this is a big chance, a lot more happiness, a lot more, you know, the morale is much better around Molineux right now. And I think a win at Molineux, which we haven't seen enough of this year, to be honest. I think a win at Molineux will certainly put a smile back on a number of fans' faces as well. But let's move on to the opposition perspective. It was great once again to speak to Gio from the Hammers chat to get his thoughts ahead of this fixture, what's been going on at West Ham United, and of course, letting go Julian Lopetegui, the former Wolves manager, to bring in Graham Potter. So then it's great to welcome Gio back on the channel to talk all things Wolves and West Ham. Gio, first of all, mate, how you been keeping?
I'm not too bad. Not enjoying the football, not enjoying the season. Couldn't even enjoy international break because Scotland got pumped by Greece. But apart from that, I'm not too bad. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
No problem. Yeah, I think we did a video over on the Hammers chat if you guys want to check that out as well. And I think in terms of West Ham and Wolves seasons, because we are in similar places, obviously West Ham, you know, a little bit clear on points and so on. It has been one of those campaigns. And I said to you that I'm just sort of waiting now for the summer, press the reset button, let Vitor Pereira or whoever's in charge do their thing. And I'm sure, or I would assume you're sort of similar, just to get there, Graham Potter, work the summer and hope, you know, fresh slate for next season.
To some extent, I'm sort of, when he arrives, I thought, right, this is like a pre-season for Graham Potter. He's got months and lots of games, evaluate the squad, work out who he wants to keep, who he wants to move on, and hopefully give us fans an indication of how he wants to play at West Ham. Yeah. So I'm sort of quite enjoying the learning process per se. I'm perhaps not delighted with everything that I'm seeing. I think we're lacking attacking threat, for example. But I'm quite patient in the sense that do I want the season to end to some extent because we're not playing for anything. But at the same time, I think Graham Potter's in a really fortunate position that not many managers get, because most managers come in because the other managers failed, but that's why you get the job, because the other guy's been sacked. So that's why Potter came in, because Lopetegui's failed. But usually you come into a club that's either fighting relegation, so you've got to get them away from that relegation zone, or maybe you're joining a bigger club and you've got to get them into European football. Usually there's something there that you've got to achieve short term. But Graham Potter came into West Ham without one. We weren't going down. We weren't getting European football. It was sort of like you've got like a third of the season with nothing really to do. So he's had this real unique opportunity to look at this team, look at the players, try things with no repercussions. So we lose them all. So what? Well, we might have went down then, but we were never going to lose them all. But my point is, there's no pressure on him until he comes in January, and there's no pressure on him whatsoever until probably October. Who gets 9 months in a job where there's no pressure whatsoever? So that's why I'm pretty okay for the season not to end just yet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he came in to replace Lopetegui, former Wolves manager, which we spoke about. And at the time of the reverse fixture, both him and Gary O'Neill were under massive pressure. I remember everyone was dubbing it as the match that whoever lost was going to lose their job. Gary O'Neill, even though he lost, kept his job. But for you, what happened? What went wrong for Lopetegui, Gio? Because in the end, he was moved on. Like we said, Potter came in. What was the case? Did he fall out with people behind the scenes, or was it just really poor football, or just a mix of everything?
Everything. I'll tell you a story which sums up Lopetegui in a second, but we had someone called Tim Snyden at the club at that point who was, his job was technical director, but essentially he was trying to do the role of a director of football. So he was in charge of the player recruitment, and he came in under David Moyes, and there was immediately a bit of a power struggle between the two. Neither were really given power or clarity by our chairman, David Sullivan. So they were sort of left to just bicker between them. And then Moyes got offered a new contract last season, but we understand, we don't know for sure. Moyes said he basically didn't necessarily like the contract terms, and we assume that is that Tim Snyden was going to be given power of player recruitment, and that's why Moyes didn't sign it. So we end up withdrawing that contract offer. He ended up leaving. So Snyden was pretty much in charge of the summer transfer window just gone by. And obviously Lopetegui came in, went back to the Molineux to get Max Kilman for 40 million. But probably about 2 or 3 weeks after the window shut, it was getting leaked through German journalists who Tim Snyden has links to that he didn't want Lopetegui. He was not his pick. But before that, he was on TNT Sports saying, oh, yeah, Lopetegui, love him. He was the number one pick and stuff like that. So he'd done all this PR song and dance, but very quickly he was sort of saying, no. And that Spanish journalist that your fan base don't like, he fired out a tweet saying, oh, look behind the dugout and oh, here we go. This is it. It started already. But it was just never really, he was never really the right fit. It didn't really feel like the right fit. The football was terrible. He was just, honestly, he was as useful as a chocolate fire guard. But I'll tell you, there's been rumours that in training, we'd be training a certain way in terms of tactics. Then on Saturday, he would change the tactics in the changing room. And the players were like, why have we been doing that in training all week? And it wasn't just a one-off, it was a continuous thing.
Yeah.
But the story that came out this week, we had an academy player who was a right back, and he went to train with the first team. So he went over to train with the first team, and Lopetegui put him up front. And he basically said, oh, I'm a right back. And Lopetegui said, oh, just go up front. So Wan-Bissaka said to him, what position do you play in? He said, I'm a right back. So Wan-Bissaka ended up moving him to right back, and Wan-Bissaka went up front in training. So the academy player was out of position. There's Lopetegui at West Ham for you.
Wow. It's so strange because he seemed fairly capable at Wolves, and I would have been intrigued if he stayed. Obviously, that season, it's not last season. It was it how Wolves would have fared, because we actually did okay under Gary O'Neill last year. And I understand there was a couple of staff members that I know of, people speaking to mutually saying that I think they do regret on how they handled things and how they left Wolves. I think that's easy to say now when they moved to another Premier League club, because they felt they had unfinished business and completely failed ultimately at West Ham. But it is intriguing. I think it would take a lot for him to come back to go stay in England now. But we'll wait and see. I have no doubt he'll probably end up going back to Spain. But going on to Graham Potter, obviously you've said he's got this period now where obviously it's a chance for him to get used to the team, see who he likes, who he doesn't like. But from your perspective as a fan, have you been encouraged by what you've seen? Is it an improvement on Lopetegui, or do you think there's still some improvement needed there ahead of next season?
All of it, really. I think he's came in, he identified our defence was terrible, which it is. We were conceding about on average 2 goals a game. We got a few slappings under Lopetegui. So he's improved that straight away, bang. For the first time this season, we had back-to-back wins in the Premier League. That was it under Potter. We never had that under Lopetegui. But within those wins, we had clean sheets as well, against Arsenal and against Leicester City. So he's improved the defence dramatically and quickly, which has been our biggest weakness. However, there has been a bit of an offset to that, which was our attack has just slowed down. since Potter's come in, we're averaging 2 shots on target per game, which is the worst in the league by quite some distance. Southampton are 19th, and they're averaging 3.4 shots on target per game. So we're bad at going forward at the moment. Now, we've not had a striker.
Yeah.
Well, we have. We loaned in Evan Ferguson. He's just not played him. But we've now got Ferguson and Fulkrug available going into this one. Ferguson got minutes for Ireland, so we know there's not a fitness issue there. He's available and he's ready to go. So there's almost sort of no excuses now to not play a striker. We've been playing like a 3-5-2 with Bowen and Kudus as strikers, and it's just not working. I hate seeing Jared Bowen as striker. He gets goals and assists now and again, but he's usually out of games for 85 minutes, and he just struggles. And it feels like a real waste of such a unique player.
Yeah.
And I don't like it. I prefer how Cunha plays for Wolves. That's what I want to see Bowen do. Get away from the defence, pick up the space, and drive at the defence. Become the guy that creates as well as scores. That's what I want for Bowen. And that's what I want to see from Potter. So can he fix the defence? Yes. Can he steady us in terms of results? Yes. But can you go and win us games? Can you go play good football? We don't know yet. And that's what I'm hoping. That's kind of why I don't want the season to end, because if it did, I'd be worried for next season in regards of entertainment to some extent. It's going to be a bit of a boring one. I'm hoping between now and the end of the season, Dave, that we get goals, some excitement, something that says, don't worry, Gio. Next season, you're going to score 60 goals in the Premier League. I need evidence, and I am bloody desperate for it. Because at the moment, I'm a bit panicked that next season is going to be quite boring at West Ham, and that's dangerous. I think it's dangerous for any football club, especially the Premier League at the minute. Premier League's quite boring right now. I think a lot of people are getting fed up with ticket prices and concession tickets have been removed and kids' tickets being removed. So it feels like there's an attack on just the Premier League fan base in general. And I think if you're going to do that, you bloody better make sure your product is good. And I don't think it is at the minute. So I feel like people are switching off a little bit from the Premier League or being pushed away from the Premier League generally, and then locally as well with your club. If your club ain't doing everything right, you're pushing the fans away. So I think Potter's got a big job on his hands. And it's not just because of West Ham. It's also because of the Premier League. It's also because of... When's a manager ever had to worry about ticketing policy? Probably never. But actually, I think you do now.
Yeah.
Because of the actions of your club in the league, there's more pressure than ever to make those fans want to turn up and pay those prices. And if you don't do that, I think it's bloody dangerous. I think you're almost risking the future. I'm adamant, Dave, that West Ham are a relegation away from disaster, because we went down over the years when we moved into London Stadium. We had 55,000 season ticket holders. Between then and now, 9 years, 29,000 people haven't renewed.
Wow.
Now, some people could have come back. Some people might count 3 or 4 times within that 29,000.
Yeah.
That's an alarming number, and it feels true when you go to the games and you look around at the tourists. There are a lot of them. They won't be there if we get relegated. So if we were to get relegated, we'd have a stadium capable of holding 60,000 people, and we'd probably be lucky if we get 30,000 people. And the ones that they want to come in won't, because they've been pushed away in the process. I do feel like West Ham United, not just us, other Premier League clubs as well, are almost risking the
Wolves?
Future.
That sounds exactly the same as Wolves in terms of that. Yeah, that's what they'd put. I don't know how, if it's your board that are doing that or just the natural progression of the Premier League. But Wolves are like so heavy on wanting tourists to come to football matches. And you're right. I mean, this season, like I mentioned on your video, we may have mentioned it already today, that we're so lucky that the 3 worst teams. Because if Wolves went down, I can't imagine what the attendances and the backlash would be.
Yeah, because you want the people that you've just mugged off. You need them back, and they ain't coming back, because you'll accept getting mugged off. You'll go away, but you'll know exactly why you've gone away and say, well, you just wait. Because I'm pretty certain at some point in the future, Dave, Wolves will get relegated. West Ham will get relegated. It might not be in the next 5 years, 10 years, but at some point it'll happen. And that's when the future of the club will really hang in the balance, because the people that you've pissed off are the people you need to come back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is why it ties in with Graham Potter and Pereira, which is, you need more than ever. You now need to serve up something which justifies these ticketing hikes.
Yeah.
And if you ain't doing that, then you're going to have a problem where your stadium more and more is getting filled up with people that have no emotional attachment to the team they're watching. And financially, it might be a bloody lovely thing. You might look at it, hey, the ticket sales are up, the shirts are being sold, happy days. Yeah, it's all good and well when you're in the promised land, but the day you go out of it, good luck.
Yeah, no. It's a weird one for Potter as well, because I think he probably wants that balance to make sure he's grinding out results and so on. But between now and the end of the season, like we've already established, you're not going to go down.
Yeah.
Why can he not just take the handbrake off and let the players go for it? And like you said, because I think that'll give you guys a lot more momentum and encouragement to go into the new season. It's frustrating.
It would fix. We've got some issues within the team as well. Like Kudus hasn't done anything this season. His goals and assists aren't there. But if you could get like the handbrake off him, so that coming back into the new season, he's finished the season on a high and stuff like that. Or even if you are intending on selling him, if he's banging in a few goals before the end of the season, his value goes up. The amount of clubs that want him to go up. Because at the minute, if we were to sell him, you'd probably get 30, 40 million for him. But if a good April and May, it might be 60 million. So I get what he's doing. I think he's trying to put the foundations in place so that next season the defensive issues already dealt with. Yeah. But I guess the counter argument to that is, well, we're playing Mavropanos, we're playing Adam Cresswell. They might not be here next season. So the players you're working with to fix the defence may not even be here. So you're going to have to work on it again anyway in pre-season with the new players. So I don't know. I was just hoping for what you spoke about. I want to see a bit of spice.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. And Max Kilman was a player that, again, you mentioned earlier, left Wolves at the time, caused a lot of debate, I think, amongst both fan bases probably. But in your opinion, how do you think his campaign's gone, his first full season at West Ham?
Good, a strong one. Quite often our best defender. There's been some games where he has struggled. We switched to back four under Potter when we played Brentford. And he really struggled in that game. You know, Brentford were just running past him. The ball was getting knocked over him and he couldn't keep up, and they were running past him and he couldn't turn. So I think a back three certainly suits him more than a back four. And I think the deeper we are, the better we are for Kilman. But he's been one of our better performers. However, the bar is quite low.
Fairly low.
But yeah, a solid season. I still think we've overpaid. I still think 40 million was too much. But I'd probably give him a 7 out of 10 for his performances as a season overall. It's been good.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see him properly back sort of in the flesh, assuming he'll play on Tuesday. And I think you're right, a back three probably does suit him a little bit more. I think he's one of those players that probably just needs that little bit more support around him. But you know, I had no doubt that he was going to be a good enough player for you. It was just obviously the fee at the time, which was a big question mark. As going through, going on to this game on Tuesday, Gio, what are your thoughts? Thinking, what's your opinion on Wolves going into this match?
I can't quite work you out. I think I watch you in some games. I think you play well, and tactically there's a clear plan there, and you carry out quite well. But I feel like you're just lacking quality, but you've definitely got quality. I like Aït-Nouri. I like Gomez and Andre. I think they're two really good individuals in midfield there. I've never been Semedo's biggest fan, although I will say that he's had a decent enough season. I'm still a bit suspicious by him. But the problem is the two positions next to Cunha. There's no doubt he's one of the better players in the Premier League. I think he's unbelievable. But Larsson looked like an okay signing, but I think the problem isn't the fact that Larsson's your striker. I think the problem is Larsson's your only striker.
Yeah.
And if you had someone else to rotate with him when he's out of form, I think you've got a good strike force then. I've always quite liked Bellegarde. I think he's got better in the last couple of months than he has done, but I've always looked at him and thought there's a player there, and it's good to see players sort of reaching their potential. I don't like Guedes. I don't get him. Sarabia, I'm not keen on him either. Defensively, though, I don't know how you pronounce the guy's name that starts with A that you got from France in Jan.
Yeah.
Oh, I like him. He's a bit of me, he is. I think Your other centre backs, not keen on. I've never been a big fan of Totti Gomez, Bueno, Craig Dawson. I mean, that's a bit of a sad story, isn't he? He was a bit of a
Yeah, he's
cult
completely
hero
out
at
of the
West
squad now. He's
Ham.
been frozen out completely by Vitor Pereira. He's not even registered, so really weird.
Yeah, so-
really strange and quite sad how that's ended, to be
Yeah.
fair.
I'm not a big fan of Jose Sasso. I like some of your players, Dave, but some of them I'm just not too keen on.
Yeah.
I don't fear Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you had Cunha, I would. It's not to say you can't beat us. You can. But I think you are in a fair league position from what I've seen this
Yeah.
season. And that's a failure on many people's parts at your club. I think you should be better than what you are. I think you've been in the Premier League long enough now to have assembled a squad, to have built up the financial capabilities of competing.
Yeah.
But you're constantly seeing your star player leave and you're facing it again with Cunha. You know, you at some point, I know people always say you can't sell your star player, but I always think, well, Brighton do and they manage you okay.
Yeah.
And I think you can, but you've got to bloody make sure that everything is in place for you to do that. So you know exactly who you're buying. You get better every time you sell your main player. And I look at Wolves and think, I don't have that confidence in you doing that.
Yeah.
Can you take one step back and two forward? I think the answer is no. I think you tend to take two steps back and one forward.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not good enough. In regards to Tuesday, I think our issues will continue, which is we're toothless in attack, but good at the back. Without Cunha there, I can't see there being many goals at the Molineux on Tuesday night. I will be honest with you. I think it could be one. If you're a neutral watching this video, don't bother your arse tuning in on Tuesday. Go do something else. I think there might be another game on TV at the same time as we are. Go watch that one.
Yeah.
Would not tune in. I don't think we'll lose, but I'm just not confident. And I think there's an element of not caring to some extent, Dave, in the sense that we're not playing for anything.
Yeah.
So the result matters, but I'd rather lose 4-3 than draw 0-0.
Yeah.
I know that sounds wild.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that entertainment.
In terms of his play style, though, Potter, quickly before we finish, is it just like a low block? Is it part of the bus style, or is it just really? I don't know. How would you explain it?
I'd describe it as a mid block. We're not afraid to press further up the pitch in games, but we've just got no pace. We've got nothing. Quite often under Potter, in quite a few games, we've been. You know, when we played Leicester, because we're up against someone rubbish, it was the most comfortable 2-0 win I've seen in a long time at West Ham. They didn't lay a glove on us all game. 2-0 up at half-time, came out the second half. It was the most boring 45 minutes ever, but that's what we wanted. We wanted it to be boring. We wanted to cruise through it, and we did. So there's an element of like professionalism that we don't see too often at West Ham. But in other games, though, like when we played Everton and when we played Newcastle, the defence passed it around, and then they use the goalkeeper, Areola, and eventually they get pressed, so Areola hoofs it to Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
And then we get the ball back and Kilman passes to Tadibo, to Wan-Bissaka, to Tadibo, to Kilman, to Areola, to Kilman, to Areola. Hoof! Lost the ball again. It's just, bloody hell. And I think it's just, we've got nothing in midfield. There's no one there. Ward-Prowse gets it, but he just gives it straight back to the other defender. But there's no one that gets it on the half turn. There's no one that plays it forward. And I think we really struggle. And when you play with wing backs, as you do, I think you need someone that's good at travelling with the ball, which you've got Aït-Nouri. And I think Wan-Bissaka's all right at that. But I think you need really good attacking width from your team when you play with wing backs. And I don't think we've got that. Wan-Bissaka's okay. And on the other side, we've either got Scarles, who's inexperienced, or Emerson, who's a bit vanilla. We've got no threat down the left. So it's difficult to progress the ball through the thirds. So we just batter it forward, and then we're thumping it up to Jared Bowen up against a 6-foot+ centre-back. He ain't winning anything here. So I think that's why we've struggled, and that's why it's boring. And there's an element of, people saying, wait till Potter gets his players. And I hope that's true. I'm still hesitant to buy into it, but fingers crossed.
No, I agree. But score prediction, I mean, you've said boring game. You're saying a 0-0 or maybe a 1-0
I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham. I think there's two star players, Cunha, Bowen. One of them suspended. And that's why I think I'm going to go 1-0 West Ham, because we've got our player that's available that can do something out of nothing. We've got the game changer. You don't have your game changer. So I'm going to say 1-0 West Ham.
No, it's fair enough. And Gio, where can people find you and your content if they wish?
YouTube, Google, that's what I call it. Go on YouTube search bar. I just call it YouTube's Google. Go on there, Hammers Chat, and you'll find this Scottish mug if you want to hear more talking about Wolves and West Ham.
Perfect. I'll make sure I leave a link to it in the description down below. And apart from Tuesday, mate, all the best for the rest of the season and the summer, and I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up next season, actually. It could be a big summer for both teams for various reasons. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. All the best. Cheers. So big thanks to Gio. I'll make sure I leave a link to their channels. And of course, we did the match preview if you want some more of my thoughts from their channel as well. And let me know your thoughts and score predictions in the comment section down below, folks. If you go into the game, fingers crossed it is 3 points for us. We'll be back after the match with my match reaction. We'll have the fans react. And we are hopefully doing a podcast which should release on Wednesday. Looking back at that game, discussing all of the action. And, of course, looking forward to that game against Ipswich next Saturday as well, or on Saturday, I should say. But until then, guys, enjoy the game, enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you on the next one.